Good evening everybody, it is Aldax here, and tonight we have for you another Total War Rome 2 battle, this time between the forces of the Roman Republic and the forces of the Kingdom of Macedon, or Macedon, depending on how anal you want to be about this. So this is another semi-historically accurate battle we're doing today between myself and my good friend the Sassy Shogun. I will be playing the forces of the Roman Republic over here in red, while my friend will be playing the forces of Macedonia over here. So this battle is going to be along the same vein of the previous battle we did, so there are some attempts made to be historically accurate, but it's not going to be an all or nothing, let's do a historical replay kind of thing. So, as before, I'm going to give us a quick overview of the deployment of the various armies, and then we're going to jump straight into watching this thing unfold. I just want to preface by saying this was a very messy battle and we both had a lot of mistakes, a lot of poor decisions were made. Towards the end it was basically just a massive mess of troops on both sides. There's a lot of poor tactical decisions made, I'm not going to lie. You guys are probably going to enjoy watching this. There's going to be a lot of armchair experts out there who are going to quite rightly be ragging on me and my friend for some of the horrible decisions we made. But we live and learn, you know, we can only get better from here, so I hope you guys enjoy this absolute slaughter. So, starting with the deployment of the Roman Republic, we have, to begin with, the TRIPLEX ACIES, the classic Republican formation of a line of Hastati, a line of Principes, and a line of Triarii. So we have 4 units each of these wonderful troops. We have the Hastati out here, which are your medium sword infantry. Very nice, although some of them do seem to have cardboard on their chests, for whatever reason. Next line we have our Principes with their mail armor, very nice, Lorica Hamata, and then lovely Republican shields. I love the design of these shields, they look amazing. And then finally in our third line we have our Triarii. Look at these guys look badass. You know, with the bronze armor, with the shields. I mean, it's the same shields as the Principes, but they still look amazing. There's the Signifer here with his mask and his wolf skin. Sorry, it's not a lion. Animals, man, come on. On top of that, we have the Legatus at the back here. As before, nice and close to the troops, so that he can actually, you know, affect some morale at some point. Hopefully at a critical point, but we don't want to get him too close, otherwise he'll be in danger. And then at the back here, for my reserves, I decided to use our Evocati cohort. We did another battle, which I'm quite excited to show you, between a load of plebs and a load of war dogs. And the Evocati, which were my only actual unit during that battle, actually did a great job, so I was quite excited to use them in a proper battle. They're right at the back, right out of harm's way. Only use them when the situation absolutely calls for it. Over here in this little block of woodland we have my cavalry, my auxiliary cavalry. These guys look excellent. I mean, I was a Roman reenactor for quite a while and I was an auxiliary. And I love auxilia. There's something about them that just really attracts me, and I think they did an absolutely wonderful job. I mean, right down to the fact that they don't even have any stirrups, man. That's great. Got 2 units of auxiliary cavalry. They are hidden as well in this forest, which is good. My good old friends, the heavy onagers over here, although they don't end up being nearly as useful as they did in the last battle, so, you know, live and learn. And then finally out front we have 3 units of auxiliary Syrian archers. These guys as well, they look amazing. I thought they had bare feet at the beginning, but obviously they don't, which is good, with their nice recurve bows here. So obviously you guys will notice that there is a big kind of gaff in this deployment, in that I'm trying to use trees as the end points of my battle line, and that's just silly. There is no flank protection on this side at all. It's just kind of empty ground. Because I'm trying to stick to this kind of historical TRIPLEX ACIES formation with the 3 lines of defense, instead of having one long line of 12 units or 2 lines of 6 units, I've got 3 lines of 4, which means my frontage is very, very, very narrow. So I'm kind of doomed when it comes to the flanks already. I don't seem to know that, but whatever. I've got my cavalry kind of protecting the onagers, and the reason they're hidden is because I kind of wanted to bait an attack on the onagers. I wanted to leave them quite exposed and hopefully pull some of his units down here so I can, you know, pull these guys out of the trees at the last moment, shock him with these 2 units of cav that are just hidden. And that didn't exactly go to plan either, as you will see. And then we've got my skirmish line way out in front to hopefully kind of take pot shots and weaken his units as they approach. Shooting over, gonna have a look at the Macedonian deployment. So these Macedonian units are absolutely amazing. They look amazing. They do a fantastic job on the battlefield. They really are kind of some of Rome 2's absolute best stuff. And it's really interesting considering the last playthrough we did was this kind of Roman only battle. It's nice to see some other factions in play. So I'm going to quickly give you a rundown of what kind of units he has. Over here on his right wing, he has the famous Macedonian companion cavalry. As soon as I saw these guys on the other end of the field, I was like, well, I'm screwed. Might as well give up now. Further along, we have this lovely battle line. The unit of, I'm going to pronounce them hoplites. There are people who pronounce them hoplites, but I think that sounds kind of silly. I'm not a Greek. I'm not going to pronounce it like a Greek. I'm just going to say hoplites because that's what everyone's familiar with. You can nag on me in the comments if you want. I don't mind. It's fine. So we've got these units of hoplites all the way down. I think there are 5 units in total. No, 6. 6 units of hoplites. Very, very nice. 4 ranks deep. Armed with the spears. Very, very nice. He has 3 units of thorax... Oh my god, camera. 3 units of thorax pikemen over here. You can't see their pikes, which I think is a bit silly. I think there's a mod that lets you actually see them carrying the pikes. They do have pikes. You've got 1 unit supporting the right over here. You have a 2nd unit over here in the center. And a 3rd unit on the left. So these guys are here to basically supplement his battle line. If anything goes wrong, when these hoplites form their little blocks, then these guys are going to be here to make sure that the gaps between the blocks don't end up being taken advantage of. These pikemen end up being deadly. I'm just going to say that now, but you will soon see for yourself. As well, over here we have another famous Macedonian unit. If you've studied any of Alexander the Great's campaigns, you will know who the shield bearers are. They are the kind of last line of defense. They're almost like Roman triarii, but they're there to block up holes in the line. Excellent, excellent troops. Really, really nice to see them in Rome 2. And then he has his general at the back, his royal peltasts. These guys are pretty cool. You actually see them do quite a lot of damage during this, and they are actually committed to the battle, so it's nice to see them actually doing some fighting. Over here on the far wings, he's got his unit of thorax swordsmen, which is matched by another unit on the far other side. These guys are here to basically refuse any kind of flanks that I might try, whether with cavalry or infantry. These hoplite blocks are fantastic as long as they don't get flanked and surrounded, so he needs to use these units to make sure that doesn't happen. And then finally, he's got his slingers, his Rhodian slingers, 2 units of those right in the center here. Basically your standard skirmishers. They're there to basically counter my skirmishers, my lightly armed blokes. And then up on this excellent, excellent defensive hill, he's got his Cretan archers, which are for my more heavily armoured troops, and a unit of Thessalian cavalry. Thessaly, if you don't know, is an area in central Greece. These are kind of vassal cavalry. These guys are here to support these archers and make sure they don't get run down by any of my shock troops. So his tactic is very similar to the tactic in the previous video. He is essentially there to pin me against this wall of infantry, and he has probably the best infantry to do that with, a mix of spear and pikemen. Pin me against his hoplites and then use his excellent cavalry, his companion cavalry, to basically drive me into the dirt. And we will see that happening, trust me. One thing you might notice kind of early on is that his frontage is about twice the size of mine. I'm never really going to recover from this. I'm going to stick it up to play, and then we're going to see this chaos unfold. Flags off so we get a more cinematic view. I love the little voice lines in this game. It adds some real character to them. Here we go. The Macedonian advance begins. I think he knows at this point, and he realises that I am not going to come and attack him while he's got this massive advantage. I mean, I'll just show you from my vantage point. He's got those archers and cavalry positioned on this massive hill. There is no way that I'm going to assault that position. It's just not going to happen. So the advance begins. He begins moving his troops forwards. I notice these companion cavalry on my left, and I'm just like, sod that. I'm going to have to do something about that, and quickly, because otherwise they are going to completely paste me as this battle carries on. He stops his troops so he can have a look at my lines. This always happens in Total War. When you see your enemy approaching, you have a stop, just so you can see what kind of troops they've got. Very nice. A little bit of shuffling around there with the shield bearers. Fair enough. Deathly silence, the calm before the storm. I am tempted to knock the speed up, but I'm pretty sure things are going to start kicking off fairly soon, so I don't want to do that just yet. Yeah, there we go. The Greeks start pushing forward again. Keeping formation as well, very careful to keep his men in line, that nothing awful happens to them. The thing with hoplites especially is that you cannot let them get out of formation, because otherwise they'll just get absolutely pasted. As soon as they start fighting one-to-one, the hoplites are going to lose, especially against experienced Roman troops as well. They have no chance. At this point he still doesn't know my auxiliary cavalry are there, so I'm expecting these companions to be baited and go for the onager. Although at this point I do realise that my auxiliary cavalry have no chance in hell of fending off these companions. The best I can hope for is to thin them out. At this point he did confess to me he got a little bit bored, so he starts shuffling his men up a little bit faster. Here we go. The onagers start firing. Shooting, sorry. Whoa! Oh dear. Almost got a direct hit there. Almost. Now at this point I change tactic, think okay, maybe I can use the onagers to start thinning out these companions. Whoa! And indeed I do. That was a very, very good hit there. And so he makes a very, very, very wise decision, and he simply splits up his cavalry. I only have one unit of onagers. If I want to take down his cavalry, I'm going to have to choose one of the units and stick to it. I cannot hit both units now. Close. Almost. That was just awful. I need to fire the people who were aiming my onagers. So with these cavalry units completely separate now, I have no chance in hell of hitting them. So I start redirecting my onagers and decide to go for a bit of a general snipe. There we are. I tear a big hole. Well, that guy's burning to death, not very nice. And here we have the first engagement. He does exactly what I thought he would do. He sends his cavalry straight for my onagers. I decide to try and soften him up a bit with these auxiliary Syrian archers. I do believe he's not going to go for them. I am right in the end, but it doesn't really make any difference. The Syrians, they try, you know, all respect to them, they try, but they don't inflict any casualties at all. So I send out my auxilia to meet them, not quick enough, so he gets a full charge in on my onager crews. And this is another mistake that ends up costing me dearly that I just don't seem to realise. My Syrian archers decide to reform and face the cavalry, which means that a full 2/3 of my line is still facing theirs once the skirmish starts breaking out. But 1/3 of my line is facing the wrong way. God's sake. Nasty cavalry engagement there. You see, the vast majority of my auxiliary cavalry are just not doing anything. They're not helping. My onager crew starts to break. In fairness, they held out longer than I thought they would. I finally decide to pull these. Oh no, I don't. They're just shifting position a bit. Yeah, my onager crew have shattered now. They're running away. They're done. I pull back my archers because I don't want to lose them too early on in the fight. I want to keep them back because I need to try and whittle down these hoplite blocks.
Gotcha! Serena!
Again, same reason, I pull my auxiliary cavalry out because I know he's still busy massacring some of my Onager crew. I don't want to lose all my cavalry to his companions really, especially not this early on. His troops over here, these are the ones that were on the hill at the beginning. He starts moving these forwards. If he can get these Cretan archers here into these woods, he can start taking pot shots and start thinning out some of my ranks. And he can use this Thessalian cavalry here to really, really protect them. I can't really do anything without exposing myself to those cavalry. There we are. One of my Onagers is on fire. Press F to pay respects. And now his companion's job is done. He gets them right out of the way. My backwards unit are still standing here in full range of his slingers because I'm being an idiot. I finally pull them back. Now this is one of his primary tactics, and it's really what leads to my downfall, I suppose, in a way. I think he's got these companions out on the flank, he can do whatever he wants. I need to move and intercept them, so I move my Triarii out to the flank here. I didn't need to. I have these auxiliary cavalry here. If he does charge, yes, they might lose, but they will stop his charge. I don't need to waste these spear units on the flanks protecting them. I think I realised that and moved them back again. Here we have his men forming into these nice hoplite blocks over here as well. Very, very cool. And the Cretan archers and Thessalian cavalry are going to move into this wood block here, try and get a nice flank on me. My archers have pulled right back. Yep, here go another load of my Triarii out to the flank. I want to try and refuse these cavalry for as long as I can. I don't realise that his cavalry are only there to support his archers. He's not actually intending on attacking me in the flank. So I'm displacing my troops constantly, pulling them out of line, getting them within range of these archers for no real reason. And they're my best troops as well, apart from my Evocati. My Triarii are my last line of defence and I'm wasting them. Silly decisions. One of my archers starts breaking, so does one of his slingers, but this is where my risky gambits start. I take my auxiliary cavalry and I pull them round the right. I need to engage these guys because these are shock cavalry. I need to stop them before they can shock me. I need to try and charge them if I can. So I go for his archers to try and bait him. At the same time, he pulls one unit of his pikemen around to try and support this, and his shield bearers start moving as well. His hoplite blocks are still moving forwards. As his cavalry come in to intercept me, I wheel in with one unit and pull the other out of the way. You'll see I try and go around the sides and flank him, get his cavalry, and it does end up working, but all I accomplish is that I tie both of my own cavalry units down for no real reason. His units continue to advance. He's got this unit of pikes here that I haven't actually spotted going from my skirmishers that are way forward of the rest of his line. As I mentioned in the deployment, he has 6 units of hoplites here. I have 4 units abreast when it comes to my frontage. So I send my 4 units of Hastati in to engage his units, but he still has these 2 spare ones on the flank that I have nothing to contest him with. To that end, I end up using more units from my second line than I actually end up needing to. I have to divert these troops away. His companions are still out there, but he doesn't need to use them at the moment. They're absolutely fine as they are. The cavalry engagement is going well. I pull one of my flank Triarii units in to try and finish them off as quick as I can before these pikes arrive. Here go my Principes as well. From my second line moving in to engage, just to make sure that he doesn't end up wrapping around me. Pull my auxiliary cavalry out as soon as I've broken that cavalry unit. This is another mistake. I try and flank charge with these cavalry, but I misjudge the trajectory, so instead of going into their flank, they end up just charging through my men's rear, which is silly. Absolutely silly. He directs his archers into my triarii. He needs to kind of whittle these guys down because they're real danger to him if he leaves them uncontested. He's still got these pikemen and these hoplites out on this far flank. He has his swordsmen as well, which are going for my ranged. I'm trying to use my range to whittle down his numbers, but they just aren't doing enough damage at this point in time. My hastati are holding, but they're losing the battle. He's moved one of his pike units in to plug this gap here, and as soon as these pikes go down, I have no chance. My hastati are sword infantry. There is no way they're going to get close enough to deal with those pikemen. In go more principes to try and contest this pike unit, or this shield bearers unit as it moves in actually. You see one of my cavalry units is way overextended trying to deal with his archers, which it does, but then he gets caught by a swordsman unit which were designed for that very purpose. I'm overextending myself. I've got triarii out here as well in the woods trying to fend off his flanking units. I've got triarii out on this side as well trying to do something to these pike units. All the while his pike units and his hoplites are simply holding me at bay. He can use one unit to contest two of mine, and that's all he needs to do. My only units that are left are my triarii here, my triarii there, and my evocati. He's still got all of his units basically are either barely engaged in melee, so if we look at these pikemen over here in the middle, these guys are holding my hastati back without actually being engaged. He can pull these back at any time he likes, and he's got his companions still sitting out on that flank harmlessly for now. I waste my cavalry out by the swordsmen. I managed to pull these guys out before those pikemen cut them to pieces, but they're not really gonna do much anymore. They've only got 14 men left out of 60. I have managed to open up a gap in his line, and he's trying to send these pikemen in to plug it, but I've tried to concentrate what forces I can, try and crush this centre. If I can crush his centre, I might be able to start a chain route. His hoplites in the centre begin to break. In comes his general to try and stabilise that situation, and that's exactly what he does, credit to him. And then things start to go wrong all at once. I'm just going to pause so you can see that. These hastati here, which were holding the line, these guys are going to break any second now. This lot will soon follow as well. These guys' days on the battlefield are numbered. He's managed to stabilise this situation in the centre, and he has a lowered pike wall coming in to hit me in the rear. Not good. I am winning over on this side, but these shield bearers are elite troops and they are not going to break easily. My triarii here are being engaged by pikemen. Even though they're spear infantry, they won't be able to get close. They'll be held there for ages and locked in combat. And finally, he is finally moving his companion cavalry in from the rear. So there goes my second hastati unit. My line in the centre is completely shattered. He crashes his companions into my evocati, which thank Christ they were there, because they blunted that charge, barely. He considers sending his second unit in as well, but my triarii managed to disengage from the pikes and start chasing them. He's confident in his companions, but not confident enough to send them against triarii, especially not an almost full unit. So he decides to withdraw them before things get too messy. The same with his other unit, which had been beaten by the evocati. But now I'm in an incredibly precarious position. My units are scattered all over the place. They are all disorganised. He has 2 units of hoplites coming through the centre here. He has a unit of thorax swordsmen completely unused. His archers are completely unused. The units that are tied down in the forest are simply that. They're tied down. They're not winning, they're not losing, nothing is really happening to them, they're just stuck where they are. Over here on the right, things are not going according to plan, shall we say. Here comes his hoplites for my Triarii. I do manage to pull off a last minute miracle and crash the Evocati into their flank. They will not last very long, especially not when compounded by the Triarii. But again, it's excessive force. I didn't need to waste this unit on that half-strength hoplite unit. And as such, I'm forced to use my general to contest these archers that are coming through the gap. I put my general dangerously close to getting caught by the enemy here. He is able to commit this extra unit of swordsmen to the right flank, which unfortunately has got a half-strength Principes unit and my Triarii. As soon as those swordsmen get in there, they're going to rout that right flank, and as soon as my right collapses, I'm done. His thorax pikemen are moving in on my right. His companion cavalry smash into my rear. He's got complete dominance over the battlefield in terms of cavalry. Mine were routed ages ago. And look, there we go. Final Hastati unit decides, right, that's enough lads, let's go home. They sod off. I am winning some gains on the left over here in the forest, but it's not going to be enough. Simply not going to be enough. The Principes, they're gone as well. The Triarii that were on that side, they're gone. Desperately pulling my legate around. But again, I'll make the same mistake twice and crash him into the rear of my own unit instead of using him on the sides or flank. Silly stuff, man. Really silly. As my units rout, he's freeing up more and more of his units. They might be at half strength, but he's got the mobility. He can still move around. Mine are pinned down by his pikes. I've still got my Triarii fighting his general here. Desperately fighting. Here come the companions again. He's just cycle charging with his companions. He doesn't need to do anything else. My morale is dropping every second. My right is gone now. I have no semblance of any kind of battle line. I've just got scattered units trying to fight. The only cavalry I have is my legatus. They're stuck in combat over here. In come more pikemen. I mean, they look amazing. I just look at that wall of sticks. It's amazing. He pulls off an excellent maneuver here. My Triarii, as exhausted as they are still managing to hold the line over here.
Understood.
So he decides to be an intelligent bastard. Decides to be clever. I don't even notice. I don't even see these pikemen forming up behind me. Down go the pikes. And the jaws of the trap shut. My Triarii are screwed. Fighting against the peltas to their front and the pikemen to their rear. They are dead now. My general's gone as well. These guys are starting to rout. These Triarii, I try and support them with some Principes, but if the Triarii can't hold, how are the Principes going to have any luck either? These units are still routing, even though they're almost at full strength. Pretty much game over at this point. Yep, the Principe reinforcements get overrun in a matter of seconds. These guys are gone. He's got some free companions that he can use to crush this conflict over here. My poor Triarii over here that have been fighting since the start of the battle. These guys are going to be gone in a matter of seconds. I don't know how these guys are still holding on. I genuinely don't. Have a look from inside the unit. Brutal. Trying to stand their ground. Sorry. And that's it. That's the end. Absolutely brutal stuff. Really, really, really brutal. As you can see, and as I said, it was absolutely messy as hell. A load of tactical blunders were made, a load of mistakes, a load of missteps, a load of just trying to be historically accurate over the fact that, you know, you should actually just try and win sometimes. You can see here that, you know, some of his units, one of his pike units only killed one person, one of his slinger units only killed 5 people. he was just holding me at bay the entire time, and then once he had cavalry dominance, those companions were just cycle charging me to death. You can see that the deployed and losses were actually pretty close, man. It wasn't too bad. It was a very, very, very close battle, but at the end of the day, Macedonians had the upper hand. Well, either way, I hope you enjoyed seeing that. I hope you enjoyed seeing me get beaten after I trounced him in the previous battle. We've got tons more stuff to show you. Doing another recording session tomorrow, hopefully going to get some Empire done, show you some line battles. That's going to be great fun. As I said, we've got the plebs versus dogs. We've also got plebs versus mob. That's going to be great. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, stick down a comment, stick down a like, do whatever you like. I don't really mind. Check back at the channel if you like these videos. I'm going to be churning more and more out as we get more and more of these battles done. See you guys next time.